Hello and welcome to episode 301 of the IGN UK Podcast. This is a special occasion because we've won an award.
We did.
2 awards.
The award-winning IGN UK Podcast.
We won double awards. We took home 2 awards last night. We literally took home 2 awards last night.
Alex isn't in the office, and he told us to make this an award-winning podcast. But it's the morning after the award ceremony.
Yeah.
So
what was he doing to us?
Well, I
It's a
wasn't
struggle.
drinking, so I'm...
I know,
perfectly
Mr.
fine.
Water.
I know, I was very responsible for once.
So what did we win? We won
Best Games Critic.
We didn't win that. We should stop misleading people, because they will get confused.
We won Best In-House Podcast.
Yes, we did.
And then voted for by the industry, so thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
industry listeners.
Maybe we aren't as haters as we thought we were.
Yeah.
And what is this other award, Gav?
Mate, you tell me.
I don't know.
You do know.
It's your mate, though, isn't it?
This is Games Critic Nathan Diam, who, I can't really recall why we've got that. Or how that ended up in our possession.
But we'd just like to say sorry to Nathan, and we will be giving it back. So these things happen. Anyway, people might have tuned in to listen to us talk about Bond, and we haven't talked about Bond yet, because this video is about Bond.
Yes, it is
This
indeed.
podcast is about Bond.
Is it?
We've got the new Bond movie coming out on October 26th, I think.
So.
Good stuff.
SPECTRE.
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 So we thought we'd talk Bond in advance. Boys, we're going to talk about a few different Bond things.
Okay.
First up, favourite James Bond. Gavin.
Timothy Dalton.
What?
I was not expecting
I was
that.
going to say, that is a curveball.
Reasons.
He's Welsh.
That can't be the reason for everything.
Oh, gee whiz.
Also, the thing that I really like about the modern Bond that we've got now, I was going to say Craig Charles, he's not Bond.
Daniel Craig.
Good if it was.
Yeah.
Is everyone's going on about saying like, he's really good, he's a really dark Bond. But actually, Timothy Dalton's Bond is so close to the books. He's closer to the books than any other Bond, and that's why I really, really like him. He took the books really seriously. When he took over, he said Bond is a little bit. I think he's like something like trip hop or something like that. Like he's like it's too, it's not good enough. It's not like cool enough. And it's gone like the way of like it's almost like a cartoon. He's like Bond's not believable anymore. So when he took over, he was like, I want Bond to be believable, and he did. I mean, he made 2 of the worst James Bonds ever, I think, but still. He was trying.
God loves a try.
Luke.
I think Sean Connery for me.
Yeah.
Because that was so. I grew up watching when in the 90s and everything they used to put Bond on pretty much every weekend on like ITV and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the one that it was my mum's favourite Bond and my dad's favourite Bond, and so that would be the one that I kind of grew accustomed to.
Bond to us is like what Jurassic Park is now on ITV.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, I also
And it was Star Wars and Harry Potter for a period as well.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They go in waves, doesn't they, ITV?
I had.
They put the prequels on all the time.
They do.
Like, no one's watching that.
I think it's probably because they're quite cheap. But when I was growing up, it was Brosnan. He was the Bond then. But yeah, no.
Bonholm.
But I quite liked him. Yeah, no, I think Connery for me, he was just very suave and sophisticated.
I hate Pierce Brosnan as James Bond.
I don't,
never did anything.
Well,
for me.
we'll come on to things later because I don't mind him.
See, I was going to say Connery as well.
Well, go on. You can.
But
go.
it's a
got in,
toss-up
mate.
between Connery and Craig, really. I think they're both
I do like Craig.
very good. Both very manly. It's just...
You said that really slow. Both very
Connery's got that charm, though, that Craig doesn't have.
Yeah.
Craig's good looking, although sometimes he looks a bit like a builder, I think. Not
Looks
that
like a
builders
dog.
aren't good looking. He looks like a dog.
He looks like a dog.
Does
he
he?
looks like a pit bull.
When I was thinking about this, though, I decided to come up with a word for each Bond.
Oh, very good.
So do you want to say the Bond name each of them in order, and I'll say you the word?
I don't know in order.
You do.
Connery.
Man.
They're all going to be man.
What's the next one? Dalton. Moore. The other one.
Lazenby.
Who?
Nice. Moore.
Eyebrow.
Dalton.
Humorless.
Bronholm.
Brosnan.
Bronholm.
Smug.
Bronholm. Who's Bronholm?
That's what they used to say on the Adam and Joe podcast.
Very good. And then Craig.
Complicated.
Ooh.
That's what I spent my afternoon doing. All right, let's move on. Our favourite Bond movie.
GoldenEye for me, I think.
Ooh, good choice.
Best theme, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's got a great. I think it's a great cast across the board. I think good performances from a lot of people. I like the.
That's such a nothing thing. Good cast, great performances.
No, I think they've got a good collectors of acting. You know, Robbie Coltrane's in there for a little bit. You've got.
You're just naming names now.
Famke Janssen.
Still.
What am I meant to do? And then
Insight.
Some
insight.
Oh, I see. No, I also like the fact that I think it's also tied to the fact that I spent a lot of time playing GoldenEye.
Sure.
The game.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
As a kid, so I think that's probably tied up. It was like the Bond film that I kind of knew inside out.
Yeah, it was the rebirth of Bond as well,
Yeah.
wasn't it? When it become kind of a joke, thanks to the Dalton movies, even though they weren't particularly jokey. They were the opposite of jokey, but
a bit boring.
It had that great opening, didn't it? When they jump off the side of the
and that bit at the end of For England, James,
and
no, for me.
And she breaks
With her
men's necks with her thighs.
A lot of people do that, don't they?
On a top.
A lot of women do that.
Xenia.
No, but she was magical.
She was the first one.
Good choice,
Jean
Gav.
Grey.
Do you know what? The one that I had the most fun watching is Skyfall.
Good choice.
I think it's a really, really good film.
I think Dan called it the best Bond film ever when he
think
reviewed it
did
for
he
IGN.
really?
Yeah.
Me and
Big
Cooper
shout.
definitely meant to be.
It was
together,
a big shout though
yeah.
because he had to write that review the morning after, and it was like, "Do I call it the best Bond film ever?" I was like, "If you think it is,
Yeah, you've got to.
I think it is. Yeah.
Do what you feel.
Yeah. What's yours?
I decided to go old school. I've gone From Russia with Love,
Good.
which was the second one, 1963. When it was all coming together, you got the theme tune, I think, for the first time. That's not good. Let's turn that off. It's because I was checking the time.
Set the alarm to go off every 5 minutes.
You've got, and that's the end of the podcast. Russian villains. Russian villains always good.
Yeah.
That old school Cold War. Also, there's something about the 60s Bond.
does
It'd
just
be
feel like
interesting
it's
if
the
they did a movie now set in the 60s. I think that stylish era. I guess Man from U.N.C.L.E. tried it a little bit.
Well, that's kind
X-Men
of
tried it as well. Like X-Men tried to do like 60s. I thought the X-Men's version
First
of the
class,
60s is
yeah,
That's
terrible.
partly why, for me, I really liked Casino Royale because.
I hated Casino Royale.
I liked it, but especially the casino scene in it. The throwback in the suits and all of that was
It's
very.
just men playing poker for 45 minutes.
Yeah, but it was very suave and very.
Nah, I'm not.
Anyway, we're still on me.
Sorry, yeah.
It has
More
a
on you.
great fight on a train.
Yeah.
One of the great fights
Yeah.
in Bond history, and
Also, Skyfall has one of those as well.
it's still on me. And it ends as well. It's got this really bizarre ending with Rosa Klebb. Do you remember Rosa Klebb?
Vaguely.
She's this little old evil woman, and she wants to kill James. She dresses as a maid, and
I do.
a spike comes out of her toe. She's got a poisonous spike in the end of her toe, and she's trying to kick him. And it's just ridiculous. Obviously, that probably worked on the page. On screen, it's not as frightening. A little old lady with
I'd
a little
forgotten that. Yeah.
poison toe. So yeah, I like that once.
That is a very good moment.
Favorite Bond villain, Gav?
I think it's Javier Bardem. Like, he's so weird, and he's so...
Oh, I do like Javier Bardem.
Like, the thing with his face is so strange, and it's like
It
he's
is,
really...
isn't it?
And, like, it comes out of nowhere as well, and it almost like... I wrote down some things. Silver, that's his name, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he does this really weird thing where he's sitting in the... It almost seems like he knows Bond, but he really enjoys being evil. But at the same time, there's something to him where he's got, like... Because he's been screwed over by them... It almost feels like he's got more of a reason to be bad, which I think you don't really get with Bond villains. Like, that's the thing I don't like about James Bond. When they're like the cartoon villains, are like, I just want to be evil for the sake of being evil.
Yeah.
Whereas he'd had his heart broken by them. So
I don't think his plan actually makes any sense when
It
you think
doesn't at
about
all.
it.
None of their plans really make sense.
What about the sexual tension?
it's good, isn't it?
Did you like that or not, Luke?
I didn't know. Because originally I didn't know if it was pandering a little bit. I just thought it was a bit.
Because he looked a bit like a panda.
He looked a bit like a panda. And I liked the scene actually with him and Bond. I didn't care so much for the scene when he was captured with him and Judi Dench. And he kept calling her mommy.
I love that.
I found that a bit weird.
I thought it was really good. That's my scene.
Luke?
That's one of my scenes.
In terms of iconic, I think for me it's Jaws. I just think he's the kind of the villain. A lot of people go for Blofeld.
You said in terms of iconic. I'm asking you for your favourite Bond villain. I don't know what that means. You said in terms of iconic. What does that
for
mean?
me, it always goes back. The thing is, I was trying to avoid. He's the villain that I think is
So
possibly.
Jaws
the
then,
best.
just say Jaws.
Jaws. I said Jaws.
I mean,
tell you had a drink at lunchtime. Christ.
That's super annoying though, because I've got Jaws as well.
There you
So
go.
you've stolen all
See?
my answers. The trouble with Jaws though is then he did become ridiculous. In Moonraker, he became a figure of fun, whereas the first time you saw him, it's just the look. It's quite. I mean, it's iconic.
There you go. Right.
Favorite Bond moment.
I've got one because it makes me laugh.
Yep.
And it's from Skyfall. And there's a bit where Judi Dench is standing and she's looking at MI5 that's been blown up. And she goes, "We're going to get the people who did this." It's literally your fucking job, love. It's literally your job to do that. Like, it just makes me laugh every time I see it.
Yep. All right, I'm going to laugh now when I see that scene. Luke? And don't say what I've got written down, please, because you're ruining my day.
Okay. Well, then, if we're keeping the theme of... my favourite one is the snow chase scene with Roger Moore. I can't remember which one. Is that Russia with Love? Or On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
Neither of them have got Roger Moore in.
Oh. Well, you said it was that. It was one of them. You know the scene I'm on about, though. When the anti-parachutes off.
Spy Who Loved Me.
There you go. That one. But I also like the scene where Christopher Walken blows up in a...
Can you read out what I've got written down there?
Spy Who Loved Me parachutes.
What are the chances?
This is like Mr. and Mrs.
It is. We should do this.
Spy Who Loved Me. So I was involved a few years ago. We did a bunch of features actually on IGN. So I'm kind of biased. We did do the top 50.
You just read them.
Did you?
No, it's bad. I had to metadata all 100 video clips for that.
Yeah, but that was our number one, which I
it
picked, and I think you might have copied it. One I didn't put down here, which we should probably do before we move on. Favourite Bond song?
Oh.
Tina Turner, Goldeneye.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Goldeneye is very good.
Really good song.
None
of the modern ones. Awful. All awful.
I think Adele. I think Skyfall is all
Yeah,
right.
Adele was good.
I think that's the best modern one. Anyone from Madonna?
Well, the thing I don't like is, like, why do you have to put the word Skyfall in it so much? Like, nothing rhymes with Skyfall. It's trifle.
Apple Crumble.
Like, what's she doing? Just make a nice song.
I like some of the Shirley Bassey, the Burley Chassis ones. She's got some good ones.
Good. Yours?
I think... I don't know. There's about 5 that I love, but I
View
think
to a Kill is very good.
I love View to a Kill,
is
and
very
actually,
good.
although it's a terrible film, it was my first proper one. I was grown up enough.
Yeah.
I was like 7, I think, when it came out, or 8, and I love that film.
It's not enough. I think.
Bloody awful movie, but great thing. I think probably the most fitting one where it all fits together is Nobody Does It Better.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Because it just, it's
very nice.
Just for the Partridge scene. The Alan Partridge scene of that is just so
and the Radiohead
good.
cover's actually really good at that one.
I
Yeah, the
think I've heard
Radiohead
that.
cover. Yeah, they nail it. Good. Bond. Done.
Bond done.
Bond boshed.
Let's move on to Totally Epic, which is Totally Epic Gone Septic, and that's suggested by Anthony Cade this week.
Do epic and septic rhyme?
It's an ick in a ick noise.
Okay, thanks, Anthony.
We'll take it.
Thank you very much. We haven't got anything else, so it's
We're
good.
not fussy man.
This week, Crimson Peak is out. I really, really liked it. You weren't so fond.
No, I think I had too higher. I felt like they'd made the movie for me.
Okay.
It looked like my perfect movie ever. And so my expectations were so darn high that when I watched it, it couldn't live up to it. So maybe it's my fault that I didn't like it, rather than theirs.
What were you going in thinking it was going to be and that it wasn't?
I thought it was going to be as good as Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth, which are the early Del Toro Spanish language horror films. They're both in my top 10 horror movies.
Really?
And I love them dearly, and it felt like this is the first time he was doing an English language film like that.
Right, okay.
And
it's not that. Yeah, you're right, actually.
Tonally, I was thinking it was going to be similar, and some of the trailers had me a bit worried. The CGI in the trailers, and then there's a fair bit of CGI in the movie, and it takes me out of it. And it's just for someone who's so practical.
Yeah.
And the house is beautiful.
But that's the thing. Like, there's quite a lot of practical stuff going on, but there's also CGI stuff. Like, we had him in. We'll get to that in a bit. But like, we were talking to him about me and Krupa came out of it, and we both really, really liked it. But the one thing that I just didn't like at all was you've got these ghosts, you've got these practical people that you've built, but then you have these bits coming off them, and it's like, well, that's quite obviously not real
and unnecessary. It didn't add anything to it.
It doesn't at all, and it just completely takes you out of it. Yeah.
I don't think Charlie Hunnam's a movie star. I really genuinely don't.
Del Toro thinks so, doesn't he?
He's a big fan. He's a big fan. So there's a disconnect there whenever he's on screen for me.
Then he doesn't have much to do in this, though.
And it builds up. It's probably more romance than horror. And
That's
it
what it is.
builds
It's like
and
an old
builds and
Gothic.
builds. And it didn't quite nail me in the heart in the way I wanted it to, and I thought it would. But I'm really pleased that everyone else is liking
Well,
it.
that's the thing. I went in with lower expectations, and I didn't go in. I hadn't
Did you
seen
see it together?
No.
Separate screens?
But then I hadn't seen any of the trailers. So
Yeah.
the trailers, now that I've watched them, are doing a really bad job of like selling it. I think because they're selling it as this like basically the Woman in Black type thing, where it's going to be like this really harsh, like really horrible ghost story. When it's not, it's like a gothic romance.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. And actually, that's exactly what me and Daniel spoke to Guillermo del Toro about, and we're going to play some of that for you right now.
So the word gothic has come to mean lots of different things. Now it's used from culture to fashion to music. But the gothic romance to me signifies something very specific within literature.
Correct.
It's the Old English Baron, it's Otranto, it's Anne Radcliffe in particular. How do you go from that very specific literary form and meld that with the conventions of a big Hollywood film?
Well, look, the birth of Gothic at its inception in 1780s, it's a sort of a counter movement, a romantic counter movement against academia, the age of reason, everything being sort of stodgy and intellectual rather than emotional. And then out of that comes this crazy little offshoot, which is Gothic romance. And to me, the fascination of that is that it's always been very close to the dynamics of a fairy tale. With a princess traveling to a castle, falling in love with a dark prince, discovering a dark secret, blah, blah, blah. And the seeds of that, I think, then transform over time into narratives that have very close parentage. Like when you think about Jane Eyre, you think of Rebecca, very similar structures. When you think of Dragonwyck and Rebecca, very similar structures. The Secret Garden even, similar structures. And there are certain rules that you derive from that, from reading Anne Radcliffe, from reading even Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, things like that. There are certain things that you derive that you can apply to make it feel like an old, traditional, dark Gothic romance, in the way that I tried to do Pan's Labyrinth as a traditional fairy tale, that you feel this must be a traditional fairy tale, but it isn't. And then what you do is you play with those conventions. Once you have those limits, you say, I'm going to do a proper, lavish Hollywood movie, because Gothic romance, at the end in the 60s and 70s, it became B-movie territory. It became people with one candle and almost no sets, just a lot of cobwebs pretending to do things in castles, But on the beginning, when you think about, Robert Stevenson's Jane Eyre, or when you think of Dragonwyck with Vincent Price, or Rebecca itself, they were lavish productions, and I wanted to do that and subvert some of the gender role dynamics, subvert a little bit of the level of violence and sexuality and stuff like that.
You're an artist who is very aware of tradition and partaking within a tradition.
Yeah.
How much of you, when you're writing and creating, are you actively playing with that stuff, and how much are you doing on the level of intuition, because you're steeped in it?
Well, the problem is that in terms of Gothic romance, everything I like and everything I do, most of it is rooted in 40 plus years as a fan.
Yeah.
I mean, the first movie I saw at age 4 was Wuthering Heights, with Laurence Olivier, the first movie in my life. I discovered Jane Eyre the same year I discovered Frankenstein, at age 8, 9, 10, I don't know, very young. And they made the same impression. They were seminal for me. Anne Radcliffe, Matthew G. Lewis, Vathek, William Beckford and his Fonthill Abbey. All this is like second nature to me. And then what you do is I keep reading the new Gothics and see its evolution. I think the repercussions of Gothic have lasted more than 200 years. So it's a genre that is very beautiful to embrace. But I try to make notes in my notebook. I try to read everything I can in the study of Gothic, be it Christopher Frayling, or be it an older treatise, or like one of the dictums of Gothic romance that I heard that puts it beautifully is Henry James, that says Gothic romance, it's about the past, which is represented by the ghosts. and our impossibility to move into the future. And I thought that's going to become central to Crimson Peak. So stuff like that. I try to stay on top of it, but I've read most everything that I feel is important for it.
We talked about this being a Gothic romance, and that happens in a particular historical period with the Age of Reason, the end of the 18th century. But you set this at the end of another great period of rationalism, which is the end of the Victorian period. But it obviously erupted another great period in Gothic literature, and particularly in this country. Stevenson, Stoker. So why did you choose to have it set at the end of the 19th century rather than at the end of the 18th century?
Well, the movie takes place exactly at the point 1901, which is exactly at the point where America, particularly Buffalo, New York, where we said the beginning of the story, is an incredibly modern place. And Buffalo, New York, of all places, is the most electrified city in the world. Nikola Tesla electrified the whole city. You have a city that has motor cars, steam engines, telegraphs, typewriters, is really, really on the edge of modernity. And you have a girl that is really modern, but at the same time she sees ghosts. And on the other hand, you have a guy that comes from a very old world, but he sees the future. He sees machines, and he wants to build machines. So these two lost, out-of-place souls meet each other and fall in love, And it was important to set it at that time because I wanted to hear somebody like Dr. McMichael give a rational explanation about ghosts. I wanted to sort of contrast those two.
Because he's kind of because there's lots of elements of Victorian ghost stories, and McMichael in particular is that kind of agent who functions as doctor, but also as the detective, which is a character that has its own literary life at the end of the 19th century, and it runs parallel to the ghost story. And
there's a great pulp subgenre, which is the supernatural detective.
Martin Hesselius.
And Carnacki and so forth,
But because you actually, in the movie, you mention he's inspired by Arthur Conan Doyle. Obviously, author of the most famous detective of all time, but also wrote, reams of supernatural stories as well.
And he was a spiritualist, and he believed in all those things. I mean, that's the greatest dichotomy with Doyle is that he believed in fairies, he believed in ghosts. His father had been committed to an asylum, and his father saw fairies and drew fairies. I actually own 2 drawings of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's father. One of the probably last drawings he ever made, and because he was a famous illustrator that published on Punch magazine. So it's a curious period because you have Houdini debunking, and his friendship with Doyle is destroyed because of that. But it's the struggle between are ghosts real? And the movie has a very, very willful opening saying ghosts are real. This much I know.
It's my next thing because actually just as a brief digression, I also like in that period where a lot of science and supernatural intersect. The word telepathy and telegram emerge from the same root word. But
and spiritualism has a lot of lingo to justify its existence, including ectoplasm. That great word, and for those photographs with cheesecloth with wires,
or egg white,
or egg white,
or thrown on the walls.
That's exactly right.
Because Charlie Hunnam's character in the movie early on, he kind of reveals himself to believe in ghosts, but believe in ghosts in a way that he can accept. Because he extends whatever kind of scientific terminology to try and bring back the supernatural back into kind of a discourse that he kind of understands. But unlike a lot of Gothic romance, where the supernatural is explained, like you said, this movie begins with a line that says, ghosts are real. Why was it important for you not to maintain any level of fantastic ambiguity?
Well, Gothic and Gothic romance, you can depend, most of the time, like in Jane Eyre, Rebecca, all the supernatural is either based on character flaws, like I feel Rebecca in the corridors, or a perfectly reasonable explanation. There's a woman locked in an attic somewhere, and it's not a ghost. But there's other versions of Gothic where, like the Monk, E.T.A. Hoffman, that do have a lot of supernatural agencies. And I decided, look, for me, the real fun of this genre is to use the ghosts as a symbol, but also use them as characters. Rather than making them the scary thing in the movie, the scariest thing in the movie is human, you know? Is the family that destroys these two kids, you know, Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston. That is the real monster. The real monster is that fabulous mother in the painting and the absent father and things like that. So I think by contrast you have the ghost, and also I'm Mexican and I fully believe in ghosts. I'm a skeptic, but we have a saying in Mexico, ghosts are, no, I don't believe in ghosts, but they're real.
They're always there.
There's always, I mean, and I've had two ghost experiences that may be subjective, maybe I was under self-hypnosis, I don't know, but I lived them.
What were they?
Well, the one that I think is really terrifying, and it's in the movie, the opening of the movie, by the way, the girl visited by her dead mother, it's what happened to my mother when she was a child. She was visited by the ghost of her grandmother, and she sat on the bed, and she heard the bed springs creaking, and she felt the touch in her shoulder. So that's biographical. The other one is, I was scouting locations for The Hobbit in Waitomo, in the north of New Zealand, and I knew the hotel in Waitomo was haunted, and it was off season, so it was closed. So the 8 people that were with me in the scout, production designer, cinematographer, and so forth, we made them open the hotel with the power of Tolkien. You know? And they opened the hotel, and I said, can I get the haunted room? And they gave me the room, which I think it was room 12. And it has a balcony that overlooks Waitomo. And I was watching The Wire on DVD. I was watching Stringer Bell and Omar parlaying, you know? And all of a sudden, like in the middle of the night, I'm watching this DVD, middle of the night, I hear the most horrible murder. This woman screaming in huge terror and pain. And I traced it to the bathroom. And then I got really freaked out, but I didn't run. And then I started hearing a man crying with regret. And I traced it again, and it was coming from a vent in the wall. I popped the vent open and I looked inside, and there was a shaft that went all the way to the cellar. And then I went out to the corridor, and I didn't know where the other 7 guys were. So I said, do I wander to the corridor? What do I do? And I went back, placed another DVD of The Wire, put my earphones, and I didn't sleep all night. Yeah.
Did you get to the end of the box set?
No, but and eventually I did. But that is in the movie. That is when she hears the murder in the bathroom.
But not The Wire.
Not The Wire. She should be watching The
Wire. Ghosts. I think a lot of people think of ghosts, they think of kind of a translucent being.
Yes, yeah.
And you do something different with these ghosts. As like a lot of authors have, in you know, M.R. James had very varied ghosts.
Beautiful.
Can you talk about what you wanted to do with the ghosts in this movie? Because they're quite distinctive.
Yeah, I mean, I think James's ghosts are amongst the most beautiful, but him, like Lovecraft, he manages to give you just enough details in the description for you to build them.
Yeah.
You know, crumpled linen, twisted forms.
Bright pink thing.
Yeah, bright pink. You know, and I think that the beauty of these ghosts, I wanted them to be actors in makeup, not digital ghosts. But then I wanted to do digital enhancing and make them translucent under certain lights. It was actually Alfonso Cuarón is the one that told me, you know, I know you like them solid. I said, what if they came in and out of being translucent? And I said, that's a great idea. So we thought, okay, I don't want to shoot them against green screen. And we came up with a way to do photogrammetry quickly on the set and make them translucent in post.
Okay.
So the actor's there, and then we put a bone structure inside, and they are affecting the atmosphere with sort of liquidy emanations, the ectoplasm, you know. So they are very different, and you have them there. I wanted the movie to be done manually, to have a handmade feel. So the house is real, the wardrobe is incredibly carefully done, the ghosts are real actors, not just CG, so forth.
Can you talk about how you think audiences might react to it? Because like, I think some people might go in expecting, you know, more straightforward
horror.
Horror.
Well, I can. This is where us talking and us spreading the gospel helps. We have to market it like horror.
Yeah.
It's not horror. It's spooky rather than scary, eerie and romantic in a way that is not When Harry Met Sally. Is romantic in a sort of melancholic sense of loss kind of way, you know. So saying that, I hope gets the message out at some point. But you know, I think that even then, I gotta go at it thinking, look, the movie is such a beautiful, committed work that you know, either you succumb to its charms or not. I mean, look, comedy can be great if it's Woody Allen or a fart comedy. It really makes no. You can laugh with either, or you can enjoy either. You laugh a lot more in the fart comedy than you laugh in the Woody Allen. In the Woody Allen, you have introspection and you kind of chuckle in the inside, but it's still the same genre. So at the end of the day, Gothic romance is a very close cousin of horror, and is a very close cousin of fairy tale. So somewhere in between, I hope people find that enjoyment.
So there he is, the big GDT. What a nice man.
He's amazing as well. Like, just everything that he talks about, he's a massive nerd, basically. So anything he talks about it with like so much enthusiasm, and it's like talking to one of your friends, which is always really good. Like, it's ridiculous how much of a nerd he is about video games and horror films and stuff like that. Like, Krupa was wearing like a Halloween jumper and he was just losing his shit for it.
He's got a big heart, hasn't he?
He does.
Do you mean because he's a big guy?
No.
He's got a big heart. That's not a very nice thing to say, Chris.
Okay, I'm sorry, Guillermo.
Not a very nice thing to say at all.
Moving on, Luke, you've got
Yes.
something that you're happy about.
So yeah, no, last week Rory and I went to play Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And as someone who works for IGN, it is my duty to write about Call of Duty quite a lot. Don't really like it that much. However, Black Ops 3 I actually found quite interesting for the first time in quite some time. It's got 4-player co-op as well, which I thought was great fun. And Rory and I got a chance to do some co-op together.
Yeah.
Which was great. And also, it's set in the future, but isn't like Advanced Warfare. It really explores ethics and transhumanism and all of this kind of really interesting stuff to do with science.
Well, Black Ops 2 was set in the future as well.
Yeah, but like, because this follows on, but like
Yeah,
another 10 years ahead, and it's got one of the meatiest campaigns out of any of them. It's like 20-hour campaign.
What's the thing that I saw this week? I don't really read games news, but
Good.
What is the thing that you can skip to the end? Of
Yeah, so
the thing?
basically,
What's that about?
for the first time, what they're doing is they are letting you, from day one, you can choose whatever mission you want and jump in.
Okay.
And what they're basically saying is, you buy a book, if you want to read the last page first, you can do it. If you want to watch the last chapter of a movie, you can.
No one does that. That's mental.
The point being, they're basically saying they don't want to gate the content so that if you want to play with friends.
I went out with a girl recently who did that.
What?
I know a friend of mine who reads the last page of the book first.
If we sit down and watch a film, 20 minutes in, I'd watch her, she'd be Wikipediaing it and finding out what the ending is to see if she was going to like it.
Yeah.
It drove me insane.
No, I can't do that.
It got to the point we'd argue so much that she'd try and do it really slyly because she knew how angry I'd get.
That's mental.
Yeah, anyway.
Why would you want? You're literally spoiling stuff for yourself.
I know.
But this is also a really strange thing. It's like, I like they're saying, like, if you want to read to the last, but yeah, you can do that. No one does that.
The argument they're making, the argument they're making is basically, if you've got a mate who is like on, the penultimate level and is saying, I want to do this, it's because it's not level gated that way.
Okay,
They're basically saying you can play with them, and there will flash up a warning being like, you were literally about to ruin the story for yourself. What are you doing? You don't have to do this. Think about it. Step away from the controls. But anyway, so that is an option that they have, that they've put in there this time. And it looks good anyway, and Zombies is back as well. And
Jeff Goldblum in it. Did I make that up?
Jeff Goldblum.
Amazing.
Ron Perlman is in it, Heather Graham,
Yeah.
and someone else whose name I can't.
They always get really, really good cast for that.
It is great, and as you can imagine, little Rory was losing his shit.
I haven't played Zombies with Rory, but I really want to because he's
The boy
mad
is
for
good
it.
at games.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever else you want to say about him.
He's good at everything. It's
He is good
annoying.
at everything. It's really annoying.
I was going to talk about something, but it's in the negative zone and it should be in the positive zone, so I'm going to say it now.
Okay.
Totally epic is the news that Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh God.
Have you guys been keeping up with the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies?
Not lately, no.
No.
Is it Alex who saw them?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's the one who's really.
I guess he's got a kid, isn't he? So he has to.
He
I know, he
has,
just watched them on his own.
Got a couple of kids. I mean, David Cross was in the office, so I did actually talk
yeah,
about
of
them a little
course,
bit.
yeah.
He didn't really have anything to say though. I mean, he's not very subtle about it.
He's quite
said,
honest that
I'm
you
doing
want-
I'm doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a new one coming out. It was due to be coming out on December the 23rd.
What's the subtitle?
Well, I was building to that.
Right, sorry,
but
sorry.
If you want to ruin it now,
Sorry.
I mean, what have been some of the previous ones? There's been the Squeakquel.
Yeah, the Squeakquel that is classic.
That's really good, though.
Yeah, that's good pun.
Would you guys be interested in going on the road, Chip?
Not quite as good.
Jesus.
So it's no longer coming out December 23rd. In a quite a ballsy move, they've moved it to December the 18th in the United States of America, which is the same day that Star Wars The Force Awakens comes out. I mean, it's the ultimate David and Goliath story. You know, it's Alvin v Darth Vader.
Do you think they knew? Do you think they've just gone, yeah, we know, we just don't care? Like,
Can you imagine how many parents are going to have to really piss off their kids? Like, you know.
I think there's two things here. It's counter-programming. There will be young kids that won't be able to see Star Wars, and there'll be empty screens. So, equally, Alvin and the Chipmunks movies do make quite a lot of money over the holidays. So this gives them an extra 5 days before, 7 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So financially, it probably makes sense. Also, I mean, I don't know if they knew this when they made the movie. It's getting quite a lot of publicity.
Why?
Because
we're talking about it now.
Oh, right, okay, because of that, right?
toe-to-toe.
Yeah.
Right,
And I didn't know the name of this film until now. You don't. You know the name. All
I
our
do.
listeners do.
And I listen
Road
for
trip.
puns all the time, yeah.
And I was
But we're not going to go
scrolling.
see it, though.
I was scrolling through the site, and I just thought
Alex
it was
will.
a very funny thing to do.
I think Alex
it's really
Alex
funny.
will... I mean, Alex will go see it, lightly with Scarlett. She will get very upset because she won't be able to see it when it releases because he'll be seeing Star Wars. You know.
Well, we can get Alex to talk about this when he comes on.
Yeah, definitely.
The next podcast. But anyway,
Well,
let's talk Septic.
Let's go Septic.
Luke.
Okay, cool. So they announced the Star Wars Battlefront Season Pass this week, which is $50 or 40 quid for 4 unnamed maps and, expansions, they're calling it. What's
Okay.
in them, we don't know. And it just seems a little bit...
But have you got to pay for it now if you want them? Or you can just pay for them any time?
The Season Pass?
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, you could buy it later if it's more...
I saw a lot of anger about this.
Yeah,
It's this whole thing. I mean, the season passes as an action, I don't really agree with. It's this whole thing of, you know, the idea is you buy it now and then you save money, but it's always announced before they say what the DLC is.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does vary. Sometimes they then take that bundle offer away.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you know, buy it sight unseen. It's like you're buying a mystery box. It just doesn't really make sense.
It's weird. It's weird.
What, do you have any passionate feelings about?
Absolutely not.
Season passes?
I don't have any feelings about this type of game stuff. It's so, far removed from what I like to get involved with.
But you're going to play Battlefront.
I'm going to play Battlefront, yeah.
For me, I mean, so I don't buy DLC for games just as a...
Do you?
No, I never buy
I do.
DLC. I just don't bother. I mean, I still buy expansions. So I'll buy, Warcraft expansions. I bought the Witcher expansion.
Yeah.
Happy like that if it's a big chunk. But in terms of little DLC and cosmetic stuff, not
This
really.
is Star Wars, though, isn't it? So it's going to be like a Star Wars thing.
And I mean, you'd like
Yeah,
to...
you would think so.
Yeah. No, what I mean, when it's just a bit of DLC that's just like a new map, that's fine. When it's just like Coruscant,
Yeah,
do you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
And you just, if they've done it sensibly, the expansion would be like, you know, a new map. On those maps, there'll be every type of battle thing, mode, maybe one new mode, and a new hero. That's probably worthwhile. That's worth, a tenner.
Yeah.
But, because that's, how you break
But
it down.
I see your point. They're announcing it before they've actually announced
I
what
think
it
that's
was.
a
If they
bit
were
that's-
like Chewy DLC, $50 done. That's
yeah,
fine. Give some-
exactly.
give
It's
some
like, you'll
money.
get this if you do it this way, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, pay now and see what you get. It's like,
Yeah.
don't do that. Don't do this shit. Just come out and say what we get.
Yeah.
But so I think that's what's really...
Pretty septic.
It is pretty
That is
septic.
septic.
This is more Septic.
What is more
Okay.
septic?
Die Hard. Maybe the greatest action film ever made.
Yeah.
And they've been getting worse and worse lately. Like, it's just a decomposing corpse at the moment. That
What are they up to? 5.
5.
What was it
6?
called? Live Free or Die Hard.
No, there was one after that. The one in
So-
Russia.
What was that one called?
I can't remember. And
Die
I
Hard
reviewed
again. No, I don't know.
it. And I hated it. I hated it with a passion. It was a
Yeah.
terrible movie.
It's cold. Very not just because it's Russia, but when I was watching it, I was just like, this is soulless.
Yeah.
It could be anything. Could be
was.
anything.
It's the director they got is one of these directors for hire. He's a Scottish guy called John something or other.
Right.
And he just specialises in making films, remakes that you don't care about. He's done a bunch of them. He did the Omen remake. That just nothing.
Well, this is the thing. It's like in the same way that like video games, the way that video games films get made is someone will have a script somewhere and go, right, we've got this weird horror film that's not going to get made. Okay, well, we can't get it made, so what can we do? Oh, well, the House of the Dead name is up for grabs. And the same thing with Die Hard, I think, where they're just like, they've got a script. It's not going to, it's generic action film. Make it a Die Hard film.
Yeah, I mean, it worked though with Die Hard with a Vengeance, and that was a script called Simon Says, I think.
That's right, yeah.
And that kind of worked. That's not a bad. It's probably the second best Die Hard movie in my opinion.
It's great.
But yeah, they've just driven it into the ground, and so word on the street is that they're going to do a new one. Len Wiseman directing, who directed Live Free or Die Hard. Which was when it started really going off the boil for me, when he jumps off a plane onto a truck or vice versa.
Bonkers,
It's suddenly become a cartoon.
Surfing a plane at one point.
Yeah, it became a cartoon. But the word is it might be a prequel.
Ooh.
A sequel and a prequel. So Die Hard 6 reportedly serves as a quasi-prequel to the popular film franchise. Will be set in 1979 New York, centred around a young John McClane. While series star Bruce Willis doesn't yet have a deal locked down with the studio, the actor is expected to return for present-day sequences. I feel like they're getting further and further away from what the point is, which is him in an enclosed space, taking on a bunch of people.
Well, that's the thing that I really liked about it. It's like he's a normal person. Like Die Hard, he's a normal person. He's just a normal cop. Die with a Vengeance, he still seems like a normal cop, and then after that, then it starts going mad.
It doesn't need to be a $200 million movie.
No.
It can be a $20 million movie set in one location.
Yeah.
Put him in one location. The one that you talk about, they could have applied different scripts. Olympus Has Fallen. That would have been a good Die Hard movie if it was John McClane in the White House. Yeah. And they could have done that. That is something that you could easily have figured out of a reason to get him there. I know someone who's written their own script for a sequel that they've been trying to get made.
Really?
And it's really good. It's set on the anniversary of the original movie.
Right.
And there's a ceremony in Japan for Mr. What's he called? Mr. Takagi. Takagi will not be joining us for the rest of his life. Yeah. Like a ceremony for his death and the people
they get
that died.
John McClane over for
and
it.
He's there at the ceremony, and then all stuff kicks off there. But so it brings back the wife and the family thing. But it was a really good idea. And obviously, it's not happening if this is going forward. But
I watched a film that I thought, I was like, if this had been a Die Hard film, this could have been really, really good. It was, I think it's called 16 Blocks.
Yeah, it's a Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah,
him and a rapper, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it's him and Mos Def.
Mos Def, yeah,
and he's taken him from like one part. He needs to sort of be his bodyguard, taking him from. So I was watching. I was going, if this was a Die Hard film and he was playing John McClane, this could be really, really good. As it is, it's really boring.
Who do you want to be young John McClane?
Ashton Kutcher.
Why? Because of the Demi Moore connection.
Yeah, she already cast him as young Bruce Willis. So, Speed would have been a great Die Hard movie.
Yes.
Speed would have been a really good Die Hard movie.
It was called Sudden Impact or Sudden. I think Sudden Impact. Do you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah.
That was Die Hard in an ice hockey rink.
Yeah.
It was quite good. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Just get it back to basics, or actually stop.
Yeah, just stop.
But it's funny that we started off this podcast talking about James Bond, who's brilliantly been able to reinvent himself for 50 years.
Yeah.
Die Hard is just
floundering.
Indeed.
I guess because they don't do anything super. They try to do something new with it, but they also still using Bruce Willis. But it's really odd, isn't it? Because people saw today going crazy, going, "Oh, no one can play John McClane except Bruce Willis." No one says that about Bond, do they?
I wonder what
that's like a character that people are like, "Oh, I know there's like."
I kind of see Mission Impossible in a similar. I mean, Mission Impossible is doing well at the moment, but that surely has to have a shelf life, right? Or could they do it without him, without Tom Cruise?
Don't know.
Well, they've tried. I think Jeremy Renner was brought on for that purpose, and it didn't quite take off in the way.
I haven't seen the new one. Apparently, Renner's just like rubbish in it, or not, just really underused.
Renner didn't work with Bourne. Makes you realise how good Matt Damon is.
Yeah.
Kill it off. Kill off Die Hard.
Just kill him. Right. So for this week's feedback, what did we do last week, guys?
Something that we're supposed to talk about at the start of the podcast, but we forgot to.
I think it's quite good that we've kept it.
I know, but we should thank everyone for coming to Podcast 300.
So that was last week. We did Podcast 300 at the 100 Club. There is some stuff online.
The entire podcast is online.
But we also have photos and lots of other things. It was amazing meeting you guys. It was a great evening.
It was a night
very
of great
good.
variety.
But
I think we gave value for money considering no one had to spend anything. Because we had a band playing Rory's band.
Rory's
played.
band.
What would your band be?
My band.
Speed metal.
Well, at least we know how to pronounce your, because I still don't know if it's Team RKT or Team Rocket.
Well,
Team
to be
Rocket,
honest, they were arguing about it beforehand, so I don't think they
They were good though. They were good, and they're on Spotify. I downloaded a track.
And they're on iTunes, yeah.
And we had some magic from Rich Bear Park.
Yeah, that was
Judas,
really good.
And yeah, so I think it was like an
great
old school
night.
variety show.
Yeah.
It was really good. It
was so nice to meet everyone, wasn't it?
Yeah, everyone that I spoke to was really, really nice, and they said really nice things, and it was amazing how, like, you don't realize how much attention people are paying to the things that you're making.
Yeah.
And like, I had people go in, oh, I remember that video that you made back in March.
Or like, I remember you saying that in this podcast, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh crap, I did.
so
that
good,
was
yeah.
one.
Wow, nobody said anything like that to me. So.
That's strange. But we kept saying to people, oh, there's a chest over there, can you put in some feedback? And then we just never read it out. We just ignored it.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
Was
we
it not
we didn't
picked up?
we didn't read out a single one from this.
Christ. Well, there
Yeah.
you go. On the plus side, you can still email feedback to IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com, but we do have some here to read.
Yeah, so I'm going to read out the first one then.
So this will see us through for another few months.
Who would play Michael Owen in a film of his life?
I did speak to someone about
That's
Michael
what
Owen. We were talking about the fact that Michael Owen's only seen 4 films, and one of them's Cool Runnings, one's Seabiscuit. Who would play Michael Owen? I think they asked me that. Who's boring?
I'm trying to think of like who's played other sports people. I'm trying to think like Matt
What
Damon.
about that bloke we saw in the pub today?
Ewan Rayhan?
Yeah.
He's Welsh. He's not boring though.
You could pass as Michael Owen, maybe.
He does look a bit like
Do you know
Michael
who
Owen.
would be Kit Harington?
Harrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harrow's
Yeah.
in. Harrow's in.
Job done.
What you got?
I'll read out this one.
Okay.
It says sod all, so thank you for doing that one. Nothing on it.
Do you want me to go? Okay,
Don't
so
put
I've
it
got,
back in. That's like putting the wrappers of the roses back in the roses tin.
I've got one from Adam who says, Gav, you look like Adam Buxton. Do any of you guys get confused with other celebrities as well?
I get Adam Buxton quite a lot, yeah.
I get Tom Daly. I also get Javier Hernandez, the footballer. I get him a lot.
I was at an Adam
Chicharito
Buxton.
or-
I was at
Yeah.
an Adam Buxton gig once that Richard Herring was comparing, and he took the piss out of me because I looked like Adam Buxton. Then when Adam Buxton came on, he was like, "Where's the guy? Look, oh, there he is."
That's funny.
That's awesome.
If you had to have sex with a video game character, which one would it be? And that's from Pete.
Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Why?
He looked like he'd be up for it. He looked
Who's
like he'd be
that?
up for some. It's a squirrel.
All right.
It is a squirrel, yeah. Some of these are just blank. But
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of Angry Birds, so... That's quite... It's a
But
joke.
that's a good
It's a joke.
It's a context
Luke,
one.
who would you have sex with?
Oh God, tricky. I'm not fussy. Probably anything. To be honest.
There we are then. What if there was a tiny you inside your body, and your body is just a person, and if it escaped, where would he live? A person suit, and if the little man escaped, where would he live? He can come live with me. That was from Mike and Waffles. That's a really good question. Got
This
nothing
one
for
makes
you.
me angry. I wonder if this is someone that I met who said something unpleasant on the night as well. They've written, no question, why does every gaming event have insufferable 8-bit electro-pop as entertainment? Well, thanks for coming
off.
down. Thanks for coming down. Someone slagging Rory's band off to me while they were on.
Yeah, and
I
I
was saying, with the-
Grouper.
Yeah, I'm like,
Somebody went, oh,
go away.
bit dated in it. I was like, you're a bit fucking dated, mate. Go
Go away.
so-
That's our friend on there.
Yeah, don't be an
move.
arsehole.
Keep it to yourself.
Pete from Wokenham says, if you had to live out the rest of your days as a video game character, which one would it be? That's interesting.
Who seems like they had the most fun?
Sorry, what was the question?
So if you had to live out the rest of your days as a video game character,
Okay.
who would it be?
Nathan Drake.
That is a good shout.
because he's hot and he's relatively funny, and he seems like he's having a good time most of the time. Unless when people are dying around him.
Yeah,
Like that.
I would say maybe Tidus from Final Fantasy X because he's quite attractive and he lives in a world that is now destined to be peaceful.
Parappa the Rapper.
Nice. That's a good
Because
one.
of your sick beats.
David Butt just says, "Hey."
Yeah, I mean, I've got another statement here. It's from
I'm getting all the bloody
It's
questions.
from Tag, who just says, you guys forgot to mention cow and chicken in 90s TV shows.
Oh,
Well, you know what, Tag? I don't know what cow and chicken is.
I
so
love it.
whatever.
Mama had a chicken, Mama had a cow. We
That's
didn't
good.
mention cat dog either, which we should have.
This is a good one. Do you have any allergies? Go.
I'm actually
Yes.
allergic. I'm actually allergic to. Ages ago, Lynx had a deodorant called Touch, which was amazing. And then they got rid
So
of Touch.
specific.
Then they got rid of Touch, and they brought out another one called Instinct, which was kind of orangey. And I thought it would be like the same thing, so I used it. No, exploded in a rash. And so I still can't use heavily scented deodorant to this day.
Cats, dogs, horses, house dust, cut grass,
What's wrong?
pollen.
Darwinian.
Yeah.
This is Darwinism, just like the world wants
I'm
you
a
dead.
mess.
Yeah.
Penicillin. Next.
Oh, penicillin.
Are you allergic to penicillin?
Yeah, me
Are
too.
you both?
Yeah.
Jesus
I'll die.
Christ.
Penicillin
guy.
club. All right.
All I've got is a discontinued can of Lynx. Christ.
How awesome is Ubisoft? Question mark. P.S. Is Dan Kilby single? And that's from Ubisoft PR team crossed out, and it's written Ubisoft superfan number 2 million.
I think I know who that is. I think it's someone called Holly Walsh, because she's a big Kilby fan. Me and Krupo,
Not the comedian Holly Walsh.
Maybe that's not her name. Then. Holly Cooper. Holly Cooper.
Well, I'm glad you outed her because she didn't put her name on that. So you've done a really good job
She's a big
there.
Kilby fan. I went for lunch there, and when me and Krupa turned up, you could just see she was disappointed that one of us wasn't Kilby.
Ooh, this is a good one for you guys. Whatever happened?
What would happen if you took penicillin?
We're only here a minute sitting. Whatever happened to Rebecca Romaine Stamos? She's not Stamos anymore. She's not with him.
No, she's Rebecca Romaine.
She was in
What
First
question?
Class, wasn't she? Because she did that cameo as Mystique because he was like, oh no, you're like my sister.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's like, would it help if I looked like this?
Google it, I don't know.
Have you ever slipped over on some ice and saved yourself from slipping at the last minute and farted?
I feel
That's
you're not
from-
taking these questions seriously,
No.
guys.
That's from Pete.
That's Pete Donaldson.
It's Pete Donaldson, yeah.
Thanks for wasting our time, Pete.
I've never farted because I was slipping.
So here's a question. Films are boring. I don't know why people like them, do you? And that's from Michael Owen.
Favourite Scorsese film from Gary Mann.
Goodfellas.
Really?
No. Yes, just why I said it.
After Hours.
Oh, cheeky.
Ooh, cheeky. Why haven't Naughty Dog remade any Crash Bandicoot titles yet?
Because it's all the rights to
them,
that.
mate.
The rights to that are owned by Activision, and Activision has not okayed it yet. Which is why, despite Sony and everyone wanting more, we haven't had any yet.
I mean, I seem to be picking up a theme here. This is from Riss Tilly.
Okay.
So someone's having a bit of fun. If Michael Owen was a packet of crisps, what flavour would he be? Boring flavour.
Boring.
Plain.
Ready salted. Who's your
What was the Michael Owen flavour when Walker's released the... Was it Cheese and Owen?
Yeah,
Gotta be
cheese and Owen. It was
there,
cheese and Owen, yeah.
Smokey Beckham?
smoking?
We've run out.
Who's your emergency contact from your GP?
I haven't got a GP.
Well, no. Well, then that's a false one, isn't it?
Chris Tilly asks, have you ever seen a ghost? No, well, I've experienced one.
Yes. Yeah, I've experienced one but not seen one. It was a bad dream after I watched Paranormal Activity. This is a Gamergate thing, so shall I read it out or not?
You can if you want.
God, don't do this.
Why are there no girls on stage? And that's from Anita. What's a chops?
Sarkeesian.
Yep. I don't know.
I wish we
don't-
did have some
Yeah,
girls on
we
the
don't.
team.
We
We have
tried.
tried to hit high.
Girls apply for jobs at IGN and be good, and then we will have girls on stage. We need to stop soon.
This one just says shag, marry, kill everyone. Not even a question. Just
Well,
that
okay,
you've got to
yeah,
that
let's
to
do
everyone.
all of that to everyone. Ross wants to know, after the Luke and Rory fan fiction, when will the happy couple announce
You said the C word.
happy couple announce marriage? I'm not allowed to divulge that information. Rory gets.
We need to stop.
Okay.
This is beyond. We need to go.
Okay, one more.
Last
Two
one.
more.
Last one. What's your favourite Michael Owen moment? That's from Michael Owen.
Well, it's obviously the goal against Argentina. It's Michael Owen. He scored a wonderful goal.
Mine's the advert for Purcell that he did around the World Cup when he had to say thanks, Mum. And he was so dead-eyed. It was like, what's his mum done to him?
She's knowing. That's my favourite. That's my favourite Michael Owen moment.
So we should thank everyone for listening to the Michael Owen podcast.
Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for 300.
Thank you for the awards.
For the awards.
Yeah.
They didn't vote for them.
No, but their support rose us up like Bette Midler or whatever it was.
Thank you very much. We'll see you for 302.